This was the real America of 1865. Rows of slave heads impaled on wooden stakes along the roadsides, and slaves hanged from trees everywhere. Any slave working here who dared to think of escape faced various forms of execution. Yet even this couldn't stop them from fleeing. For even through backbreaking labor, surviving here was as hard as climbing to the heavens. The workload was brutal. If someone worked too slowly, officers would whip them relentlessly. If someone collapsed from exhaustion, they were shot dead on the spot. Chained like beasts, they lived worse than dogs. Witnessing this, Will couldn't hold back his tears. He saw no glimmer of hope for survival, until one day he overheard two officers discussing how Lincoln had abolished slavery and that the Union Army had reached Baton Rouge. The news instantly ignited hope within Will. He realized that if he could traverse the swamp for 3 days, he could reach Lincoln's forces. During mealtime, Will shared the news with the other slaves and revealed his escape plan. Perhaps the officers had seen through his intentions. That afternoon, while Will was working, an officer summoned him to the mass gravesite. As he shoveled lime into the pit, a soldier behind him suddenly reached for his rifle. Will knew the officer intended to kill him. As the soldier raised his weapon, Will flung lime into his eyes, then swung his shovel to knock down another soldier. After swiftly killing both, he grabbed the daggers from their belts and sprinted into the nearby jungle. Seeing this, the other slaves dropped their tools and scattered in all directions. Many were shot dead on the spot by the soldiers. An officer named Jim, however, focused solely on Will. After several missed shots, he immediately led his men and hounds in pursuit. Will and his companions were sprinting through the swamp when one slave, terrified of the crocodiles in the water, hesitated at the edge. In his hesitation, a hound pounced, knocking him to the ground and tearing into him. By the time Jim and his men arrived, the slave lay covered in wounds. Jim tried to interrogate him about Will's escape route. The simple-minded slave fell for Jim's lies and revealed that Will was heading for Baton Rouge. But just as he turned to leave, Jim raised his gun. Meanwhile, Will and his two companions were still desperately fleeing. They dared not stop to rest along the way. To better evade the pursuing officers, they decided to split up. Soon, Will escaped to the vicinity of a villa. He quietly approached a well and stole a large spoonful of water to drink. But just as he was about to steal a piece of cloth to bandage his wounds, he was spotted by a girl.
Rana! Rana! Rana!
The girl immediately rang the bell, and Jim, hearing the sound, quickly gave chase.
Towards the swamp!
Hearing the dogs barking closing in behind him, Will hastily tore off the white cloth used to bandage his wound and placed it at the crossroads ahead to mislead his pursuers. He then turned and plunged into the marsh, using the lake water to mask his scent. When Jim and his men arrived, seeing the white cloth on the ground, the subordinates assumed Will had fled along the road. But the clever Jim saw through the ruse at a glance. He stared intently at the marsh pools, beginning to search relentlessly for Will's figure within them.